So there are still those red lines, Michael, that are in place, despite the fact that this is a pretty rare meeting between President Xi and Joe Biden. But as I said, there's that red line. Biden says he will still protect Taiwan, and Xi's position hasn't changed. He still wants it.
That's absolutely right, and expect that not to change anytime soon. In fact, it's one of the central pillars of Chinese policy and indeed of President Xi's power, that is harnessing that nationalist fervour that exists in mainland China when it comes to Taiwan. And it's fascinating that you mention red lines because, you know, even in the wake of this virtual face-to-face meeting, we just don't know on either side where the red lines are on Taiwan. What could it possibly take for China to do that America would see as too aggressive, or for America to do to inflame Chinese military tensions in Taiwan? So, you know, that's where the devil is in this detail, not knowing precisely what are the red
when to
lines.
cooperate and when to compete.
Well, I again, very prescient of you, because that's precisely what it is that the United States says it's been trying to establish with this meeting. Because the White House says, you know, the principal goal here was to find a way to limit misunderstandings and to identify the areas where they do agree and where they disagree. And President Biden says that his intent was to ensure that competition between these two great powers does not veer into conflict. And this harkens to the point you raised about red lines. President Biden said conflict that's either intended or unintended, because with the ambiguity of these red lines that each side believes they have, you know, the possibility is enormous for an inadvertent clash. So all of this comes against the backdrop of the worst US-China relations since normalization in 1979. So neither side, whilst committed to reducing tensions, is anyway realistically looking to improve relations. I think it's safe to say the best that everyone is looking for here is not for relations to simply get worse. So, you know, looking at this virtual summit, it was a relative, and I stress that, relative success. It went for over 3 hours, so long the two leaders had to have a break in between, and it really did set a cordial tone. Both of the leaders referred to each other as friends, and there were areas for them to discuss of mutual interest. Foremost is climate. Remember, on the back of the Glasgow summit, China and the US announced an agreement between the pair of them to reduce gas emissions. So that's one area where their interests align. Of course, Taiwan is where it doesn't. The Chinese president said, you know, absolutely no way can you make any efforts to support Taiwanese independence. The quote from the Chinese leader was, "Those who play with fire get burnt."
Yeah.
In response, President Biden, you know, outlined America's obligations under its own Taiwan Relations Act, and that is an obligation to support Taiwan's defense. So look, this is perhaps a small step on the way to a better atmosphere for these two countries. And weirdly, if you want to put it this way, there is a test of this new tone coming up. You know, President Biden is facing some calls here in the United States to boycott the February Winter Olympics in China. So this is a chance for someone to not boycott the games and perhaps send a signal that indeed there is a new tone to this relationship. But look, only time will tell.
We'll see. Michael Ware, good to chat.